Dancing Lane to Sano Accra. My name is Philip Ni Latte. Coming up. High Court grants absence request for NDC's as North candidate pending Friday ruling.
Straight from here.
You're winning elections.
I've won.
Okay.
What are your expectations for your welcome in the constituency?
I'm not going to make a comment. You know, my people are excited. You saw them on the roadside already. So, even these are not from my constituent, but
Yes.
Former Secretary of Illegal Mining Committee Charles Biziu surrenders to Special Prosecutor, leading to his arrest and release on bail. Minority in Parliament criticizes President Akufo-Addo's remarks on rating agencies.
He should stop going around his peers and telling them stories. The rating agencies and the capital market predate his whole life. And it is part of the global financial system that has come to be accepted.
Still on CNR Extra, Anglo Gold Ashanti responds to criticisms and asserts commitment to Obuasi's development.
Between 2019, when we started the redevelopment project, and last year, we have paid about over 973,000 US dollars into the community trust.
Ghana's economy shows robust growth of 4.2% in first quarter of 2023.
The growth rate that we are seeing for the first quarter of 2023 is largely driven by the services sector, which grew by 10.1%, which was driven by public administration, and what we are seeing from the agricultural sector, which grew by 4.8%.
Once again, you're welcome to CNR Extra here on City TV. You can join us with your comments, submissions, and suggestions via WhatsApp line 0204447033, or you can join us on YouTube as we stream there live on CityTube. Jude Bensadanka, you're welcome to the show, my brother. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. It's always a pleasure to join you on here.
Exactly. Let's bring you the very first story. And the High Court has granted absence request for NDC's Asin North candidate James Gyakye pending Friday's ruling. Let's bring you that inset.
Now, in our first story, the High Court in Accra has ruled to allow the NDC parliamentary candidate for Assin North to be absent in court on Friday. Now, this follows adjournment of the sitting on Friday, where a ruling will be given on the motion by James Gyakye for the court to vary its orders to hear the matter on daily basis. The two sides on Wednesday argued out their cases as to whether the matter should be tried daily as ordered by the court from June 20 to June 2023 or not. There is more in the following reports.
The case was called on Wednesday for the parties to argue on the motion for variation of the orders of the court on hearing the matter daily from June 20 to June 23. Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame, however, at the start of proceedings, raised a preliminary objection to his supplementary affidavit to the motion. His objection was on grounds that the motion was not proper before the court, as lawyers of Gyakye did not seek leave of the court to file the affidavit, and the facts adduced in it were not relevant to the case. Chachikata, however, insisted on the relevance of the facts, saying that it seeks to prove a pattern of how the Attorney General has been making prejudicial comments about cases before the courts, which in his view are against the ethics of the legal profession. The judge, after considering the arguments, adopted the supplementary affidavit. Following this decision, Chachikata moved the application for the variation of the court order to sit daily. He insisted that the decision of Gyakye to contest in the by-election in Assin North is a national duty. Hence, the trial should be conducted in a manner that will not impede this obligation. Mr. Chikata argued that this obligation has been acknowledged by the Supreme Court and in Article 55, Clause 13 of the 1992 Constitution. The defense also raised concerns about some comments made by Attorney General Godfrey Dame, which in their view goes against the presumption that one is innocent until proven guilty. The Attorney General, in his response, however, indicated that there were some misconceptions suggesting that he set the dates for the trial. He explained that he only prayed for the case to be heard daily, which the court obliged, and set the disputed dates of June 21 to June 23. According to the Attorney General, the adjournment of a criminal case is a discretion of the judge, which the parties have no say. Godfrey Dame further argued that granting the instant application will be against fair trial rules provided for in Article 19, which provides for trial within reasonable time. He also indicated that it would be discriminatory. The judge, after hearing the arguments, deferred the ruling to Friday, June 23, while allowing a prayer by the accused to be absent on the next adjourned date. Supporters of the NDC and James Jachikwesin were excited about the outcome of Wednesday's proceedings, since it offers the opportunity for their candidate to campaign, praise their legal team for their efforts in court. Even though the motion is yet to be ruled upon, the legal team of the NDC say they have achieved their aim.
The matter has been adjourned to the 23rd, which means that tomorrow we are not coming to court. But on the 23rd, the court, in its own wisdom, dispensed of his presence in court, which means that effectively he is supposed to come after the elections. And so clearly, we want to be thankful to the court, the judge, and to say that we are most grateful for the ruling given to us today, because we have achieved what we wanted to achieve.
Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuan-Yeboah, who spoke to the media after proceedings, indicated that the state is only interested in ensuring the law is respected.
Adjourn the matter to the 23rd. When it comes to adjournment, this is the duty of the court to determine when it is convenient to hear matter. The court also made an order dispensing with the presence of attendance of the accused person. The judge has made an order to be above by the order of the court. On the 23rd, will be in court. And it set a very dangerous precedent that we can use any means to facilitate processes. But we are cool with it. We'll be back on Friday, then we'll come back and hear the matter.
Meanwhile, James Jachikwesin, who is expected to travel to CNR to continue with his campaign, is confident of victory in the upcoming by-election scheduled for June 27.
Straight from here.
You're winning the election.
I've won.
Okay. What are your expectations for your welcome in the constituency?
I'm not going to make a comment. You know my people are excited. You saw them on the roadside already. So, even these are not from my constituent, but you see, they have come all the way and give me support.
So, following the court granting him, that is James Jachikwesin, absence in court for this period of time, or when the case is going to be heard and all that, he has stated that he's going to be in the constituency to campaign. Mind you, Asin North right now, I can say it's the hottest place in this country because of the by-elections that is slated for June 27. And June 27 is next week, Tuesday. And it tells you how well people are getting into this to ensure that at least either the NPP or the NDC want to grab the seat.
I mean, it's true. Not too long ago it was Kumeu. Now
Yes.
it's Asen North. I mean, if you listen to the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Tuan-Yeboah, he was quite clear that government is not going on this tangent in an attempt to frustrate his campaign or his quest to become Member of Parliament for Asen North again. But I mean, if you look at it on a face value, it's quite interesting because I mean, why would government or the Attorney General want to go to court to have him in court every single day and have the case heard every single day up until the by-election? I mean, especially when you consider the fact that there are land cases, there are commercial cases, there are some other property cases that have been left for 5 to 10 years still traveling, and for some reason this political case, I mean, clearly a political case, government wants it to be heard every single day. And you see, I make the point that politics is important, but it is not the single most important thing in our national lives or in nation building or in building strong institutions, right? So for me, I think it will be welcoming news for Mr. James Gyakye and the NDC and his fans, because it means that he cannot, or he doesn't necessarily have to be in court during the next year, which will offer him some time to go back on the campaign grounds. But I mean, that being said, the substantive case is still yet to be heard. We understand it's a criminal case of perjury and forgery, in that as of the time he was filing his nomination to contest the election, he didn't submit the proper documents, for which reason now a criminal case has been brought before him. But that being said, my bigger problem in all of this is the focus or government's insistence on making it look as if everything politics is all there is to do really about the country right now. In that, once it's about politics, then let's push it at all costs, while there are other very important areas we need to look at. So for me, I think it's a challenge to the judiciary. Let's not create the focus only on political issues, but let's look at other areas, because like I said, there are land cases. Some of them traveled 10 years, some of them traveled 15 years. Not even to forget the Domelobo case. I mean, a case as important as Domelobo that got national attention, it took 2 or more years for some finality to be brought to it, but for some reason, because it's James Gyakye and because the numbers are probably close in Parliament, now we want to hear it every single day. So I think this is a test of the leadership for the judiciary. This is a test of leadership for everyone involved. I hope at the end of the day, there's some really sound judgment that will come out, that will be a precedent that will help us in future similar cases, really. So it will be interesting how this plays out, especially considering the fact that the by-election is scheduled to happen next week, Tuesday.
So it will be interesting how this plays out, and certainly we will bring you all the update of this particular issue here on City TV yesterday with us. Away from this story, let's bring you another interesting story where the Office of the Special Prosecutor, well, the office declared that Charles Bissell, who is the former secretary of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, was wanted. But Charles Bissell has surrendered himself to the office. Let's bring you that insight.
Former Secretary of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissell, has reported himself to the Office of the Special Prosecutor after he was declared wanted by the anti-graft body. Charles Bissell was declared wanted after he refused to avail himself for interrogation by the OSP. Mr. Bissell, who already is on trial for alleged corruption-related offences linked to him in the Anas Aremia of Anas's Galamsey fraud documentary, is also being investigated for alleged corruption issues related to some expenses of the then Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. Now, Charles Bissell, however, secured a ruling of the court purporting to quash the arrest warrant. But the OSP, in what looked like a response to the court order, revealed that it does not need a warrant to effect arrest. As a result, the arrest status of Charles Bissell on the website of the Office of the Special Prosecutor remained as wanted. But that has since changed to reported after he turned himself in. In an accompanying statement, the Special Prosecutor revealed that Charles Bissell has been put under arrest, interviewed and released on bail.
So Charles Bissell has 2 cases with the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and now what we know is that he has surrendered himself following that he was also arrested and released on bail, like what happened to Professor Frimpong Boateng.
Yeah, I mean, we understand that he's on trial for alleged corruption-related offences, first linked to the Anas Aremia expose on Galamsey and the activities of the IMSIM at the time, and now on the document that was the bombshell of a document that was released by Professor himself, Frimpong. But I mean, it's great that he's finally reported, or he's finally gone to the OSP. I mean, he at the time said that he has nothing to hide. He's very transparent and he believes he'll come out clean. And I've always maintained that, I mean, if you're as clean as you want the public to believe, the best way to go about it is not necessarily to engage in a media engagements or interviews, but go through the process, right? And if you're as clean as you want us to believe, I'm sure at the end of the day, when due diligence is followed, due processes are adhered to, and you're able to come out clean, then
the information we pick from the OSPs or the Office of the Special Prosecution is that going through the process isn't that difficult. It's just a seamless process. They take you through, and if you are supposed to be granted bail,
you'll be granted bail, like we saw for Professor Frimpong Boateng. So I've always maintained that let's allow the institutions mandated to do some of these work. Let's allow them to do the work, right? Let's allow them to investigate, and whatever the case is, will be laid before the public. I just hope that it is not another case of witch hunting. But I mean, if you look at Mr. Charles Bisu as a person, I mean, he's been a key actor in a lot of quite some negative commentary surrounding the whole process, right? First with the Anas expose, where he was seen on camera taking money to facilitate some illegal activities, including withdrawing policemen from Galamsey sites, including releasing seized excavators and other seized items. So for me, I think this is a good opportunity for the OSP, who himself has come under heavy criticisms, right? So I believe this is a great opportunity for the OSP and for all the persons named in this to get some finality to the matter, in that a thorough investigation is needed, right? And this will be maybe somewhat the first step in addressing what has become a national crisis, what has become a national cancer, in that Galamsey has negatively affected our environment, is polluting our water bodies, is destroying our forest, and we need an answer to it. So I hope this is the first major step, or maybe the invitation by Professor Frimpong Boateng, but the whole process really, and the way the OSP is going about it. I hope in the coming days they will engage us more, and we'll see some proper action with regards to investigating and prosecuting those who are found to have fallen foul of the law.
Rightly so. So let's move away from that story and go to the camp of the New Patriotic Party. The party has gotten 8 contestants to file for their nominations ahead of the June 24 deadline for the NPP presidential primaries.
Hello again. Now, 8 contestants have filed nominations ahead of the June 24 deadline to contest the NPP presidential primary slated for November this year. Asin North NP Kennedy Ejapon, former General Secretary of the party, Kwabna Ejapon, and private businessman Kojo Poku submitted their forms on Wednesday, coming up to 8 out of the 11 who picked up the forms. The following report has more details.
The race to become flag bearer of the NPP for the 2024 general elections is on. 8 out of the 11 aspirants who picked nomination forms have now submitted and filed. Former Trades Minister Alan Chemating, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, former Agric Minister Dr. Ousefu Yakuto, Dr. Konedua Preku, also a former Trades Minister, and former Energy Minister Boachie Jacko have all filed to contest. On Wednesday, 3 more submitted their forms. Former General Secretary Kwabna Ejapon, who contested the primaries in 2008, filed his nomination. The former press secretary to former President Kufuor is campaigning on a new dawn mantra that is hinged on 5 pillars. Kwabna Ejapon, who was accompanied by his wife and a few supporters, shared his vision for the party and country with the press after successfully filing his nomination at the NPP headquarters.
My heart has been troubled over the direction of our country. We must accept that where we are now is not where we want to be. We cannot mislead ourselves with excitable slogans that lead us nowhere. Ghana is really at the crossroads, and what the country urgently needs now is a new dawn of astute political leadership with a vision that inspires hope in the youth and rekindles the faith of Ghanaians in our constitutional democracy. The new dawn is hinged on the following principles. 1. New dawn refers to a belief in small, lean government machinery that is efficient, effective, and primed to deliver to the aspirations and expectations of the Ghanaian people. The enforcement of law, order, and discipline, coupled with a drastic penalty regime to deter potential offenders. The law should work in this country to stop corruption, to protect individual and property rights, ensuring compliance of all regulations, quality control, quality assurance in all aspects of our national life. 3. The new dawn also means a drastic reduction of the politicization of the civil and public services to restore meritocracy. It is time to bring an end to the wasteful seminars, workshops, fora, retreats, and move into an implementation mode. That's what the country requires. New dawn means cutting waste in the public sector by ensuring that there is value for money in public procurement, therefore freeing vital resources to support economic empowerment of the youth through technical education, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance.
A private businessman and energy consultant, Kwadwo Poku, was the final person to submit his nomination on Wednesday. Accompanied by some supporters, Kwadwo Poku, who is relatively unknown in the race, expressed optimism about his chances after he successfully filed the document.
My chance is 100%. I said that you should have a dream. That when you have a dream, you should have the positive attitude to step out to fulfill your dream. If I did not have the positive attitude and the positive thinking to be successful, I will not have done this. So let's not look at the contest. Look, people keep saying that, oh, there are this person, there's this person. In this contest, everybody's a candidate. Nobody has a title. Okay, so I'm a candidate. Whoever you see in this process is a candidate. When that person comes here, they'll go through the same process that I am going through. So there are no this or there are no that in this process. Everybody is Mr. So-so-and-so, candidate or aspirant for the MPP leadership of the party.
Before Kwadwo Poku filed his nomination, activities at the NPP headquarters was akin to a party rally. A massive crowd assembled amidst dancing and drumming in anticipation of the arrival of candidate Kennedy Agyapong, the Member of Parliament for Asin Central. The numbers and chaos was similar to when Vice President Dr. Bawumia filed his nomination last week. The cheers were louder when Kennedy Agyapong arrived. The Asin Central MP was finally ushered into the building, where he was received by the party's Director of Finance and Administration. Kennedy Agyapong addressed the media after presenting his files.
I know the place is hot, but you've taken time patiently waiting for us to submit our forms. That's extremely kind of you. So once again, I say a big thank you. And I promise to go by the constitution of the party. If anything goes wrong, to seek redress. I will not go outside the constitution to take the law into my own hands. So believe in me that I'm a true party man, and I will not do anything to sabotage the party.
out of the 11 contestants, 8 have now successfully filed their nominations to contest in the NPP's presidential primary slated for November this year. 3 now remain: a former Member of Parliament for Mampong, Francis Adainimo, a former Minister of Railways, the Honorable Joe Gatti, and a former Director of Transport at the Jubilee House, Odeneho Nana Opong. They have up until June 24, this coming Saturday, to file their nominations. From the NPP headquarters here in Accra, my name is Charles Osukumi, 4City News.
So, Kennedy in Japan is so interesting. He had a lot of people, a lot of supporters at the party office when he went there. And a statement he made is that if he is elected as the flag bearer of the party come November 4, certainly he's going to help break the 8. This is interesting. But looking at what is the timetable for the NPP, the opening of nominations that we know happened on the 26th of May, 2023, closing of nominations, 24th of June, 2023. That's the presidential. There will be a special electoral college elections, if any, on the 26th of August, 2023, and the National Congress on the 4th of November, 2023.
I mean, Philip, political marketing strategists will tell you that optics matter a lot in politics, right? So that is why you see that when the vice president went to submit his form, you saw the whole euphoria there, the people, the teeming crowd over there. Same for Kennedy in Japan. And of course, when Mr. Alan Kojo-Tremantin, immediate past minister for trade, went, I mean, he didn't go with a large crowd, even though people showed up, but he went with personalities, right? Some big people in the party, ministers, former party officials, executives, ministers of members of parliament. So I feel like it gives an idea. The submission of forms we've seen from the 8 out of the 11 who picked so far gives us an idea of who are really the front runners.
You think so? Because Dr. Ofia says he's not perturbed about the numbers you bring and that he's going to win the elections come November.
Yeah, I mean, he is on record to have said he doesn't even believe in the polls that are going out there. So it gives you an idea of what his campaign is about. But I mean, like I said, it gives an idea in terms of the euphoria, the crowd that we've seen at the submission of forms by these group of people who want to lead a party, and it kind of reflects in the Global Info Analytics poll that was conducted in partnership with CTFM, City TV. So we understand that some 34.8% of delegates in the party want the current vice president to lead a party going into the 2024 election. It goes on to say that 27.9% want the former trade minister Alan Kojo-Tremantin to lead a party, and some 12.5% want Kennedy to lead a party. But the caveat in here is that there are a group of people, numbering about 8%, who are undecided, right? And there's also another people who don't want to disclose yet. And should it go into a runoff, it could likely take in favor of the former trade minister. So interesting dynamics at play. This is just the first stage of the race, what is I think is going to be a very competitive and very heated one, because I mean there are so many interests at play. We have 8 already out of 11, and I'm sure you've seen another who's popped up his billboard, Nana Odeneho.
I think he was a transport officer
at the presidency, and the whole push around his campaign. I mean, it says quite similar to the president. So it's interesting, and I'm sure in the coming days and weeks, it will be much clearer when the campaign is open. We'll see a lot more of the dynamics and how they favor who, and we'll be here to discuss and
rightly so. So definitely we'll be following what is happening concerning these elections of the presidential candidate on the front of the new patriotic party. You're still watching CNR Extra here on City TV, still to come. Minority in Parliament criticizes President Akufo-Addo's remarks on rating agencies. Kindly stay with us. We'll be back with more stories.
Joe Metal Ministries presents Praise Reloaded on Sunday the 25th of June 2023, featuring Dunsin Oyekan, Bethel Revival Choir, Edwin Datson and CC Chum. Time 5 p.m. Venue Oil Dome Accra. Rate 60 Ghana Cedis Standard, 100 Ghana Cedis Double and 150 Ghana Cedis VIP. Grab your tickets at Airport Shell, Bachuna Total, Osu Shell, Dansoman Shell, Tema Community Night Shell, J-Ray Shops, Nalem Shops, Hatcher Shell. Online tickets www.jometalmusic.com. Ticket hotlines 0246 579 016 or 0501 192 797 and 0553 989 887 or dial star 725 star 5050 hash to purchase your tickets. Event ticketing powered by iPay. Sponsors Silicon House, DDP, Tank Palace, Total Family Health Organization, AIDS Protocol, Africa World Airlines, Green Line Jews, and Eagle Guard Security Solutions. Media partners. This event is powered by Reverb Studios.
You're welcome back. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comments on CNR Extra here via our WhatsApp line 0204447033. Let's bring you some stories here. And commuters who were traveling on the Taifa in Sawam Road yesterday went through a very difficult moment following downpour in the capital. Let's bring you that insight.
Several people using the Taifa and Sawam stretch were left stranded, with some having to trek for long distances following flooding on major roads. The rains that set in around 2 p.m. lasted for about 4 hours. City News' Kwekwe Diamansa visited affected areas and has filed this report.
The Taifa of Anko stretch is notable for floods. Once there is a downpour, commuters using the stretch are cut off due to the water that takes over the road. Wednesday's rainfall was no exception, as motorists commuting towards Nsawam Kumasi Road were caught up in the recurring situation. The stranded passengers and drivers in a video circulating on social media were captured watching on as the events unfolded. Due to the gravity of the situation, many detours were also choked with cars trying to escape the traffic situation. The rippling effect of the floods, which had submerged the roads, was telling on passengers. For some passengers, their best bet was to alight and walk to their various destinations. This man I caught up with had walked from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle to Tantra Hill and was heading to Pokwase. He's among the hundreds of people City News captured walking home.
Are you also walking because you're not getting a car to your destination?
Yes, please.
Where are you coming from and where are you going?
I'm from Circle. I'm going to Pokwase. I'm from.
Wow. Is it that it's difficult to get a car? A lot of people are stranded and all of that.
Yeah, a lot of people are stranded over there. There's no car. And I think getting to Taifa Junction, or let's say under the bridge, there's a water that has blocked the place. So that's why we are all walking. So I'm trying to find my place to my house.
But isn't it stressful? I mean, walking all the way from Circle, now we are at Tantra Hill.
To me, it's normal because I do a lot of exercise more, so I don't see it stressful.
But with this situation actually coming on the back of flood situation and all of that, what would you tell government? Because our roads now are not in a proper state.
With that, what we can tell the government is during rainy season, they should step up. Let's say the Ministry of Road and Highways, and let's say Environmental Minister, they're supposed to go out and see what is happening. Because without them going out, they will not know where the place will flood.
Another gentleman in his early 30s was seen with his raincoat, briskly maneuvering his way home. He tells me his driver, due to the situation, had resolved not to join the many other drivers on the stretch.
I'm coming from the office.
And which side is the office?
I'm from Accra Central. I picked up an Uber to the New Plan. When I got there, the driver said he's not going again because the traffic is bad. So I had to drop off from New Plan, and I've been walking from New Plan to this place.
And we're currently at Tantra Hill.
Yeah, the Tantra Hill roundabout.
Which side are you?
Towards Pokwase. If I get a car, I'll
And I can tell you for a fact, because I apply that stretch every now and then, which is very difficult when it rains for you to apply. Reason is because of the choke drains. Well, the assembly have tried doing what they can about this particular situation. Not long ago, I saw some individuals scooping, let me put it that way, mud from the drains so that they can create a way that when it rains, the water or the rainwater can go through the drains. But that is not helping. Is it a way that maybe the engineers in this country must check it, if there has to be some sort of re-engineering of that particular road? Because this is not the first time this is happening. You could see in the shots there or in the video there that vehicles were submerged in the flood waters. So what happens to these vehicle owners if your engine should go back bad? Or for instance, you are driving on that particular stretch and it rains and you have nowhere to go. It has to be a responsibility of the authorities to ensure that these things are fixed.
I mean,
because we report on them every now and then.
That's true.
Almost every day when it rains and there are issues with flooding, they'll go to that place, and they'll definitely report that it is flooding on that particular stretch.
It's interesting because if you do a simple Google search, or I mean, you even go to citynewsroom.com and you use the keyword Accra flood, it's unbelievable the similarities of the story and the similarity of locations, right? So now you're talking about Taifa in Saum stretch. I could say same for the Kaneshi Highway. I could say same for First Light. I could say same for Circle, right? And even Medina. So I think the problems are there, quite persistent. Almost yearly, every time it rains, we see the problem. And for me, my worry is that, I mean, in where I stay in Kaneshi, right? What happened was that when it rains, it takes a very long time. The rain has to be intense and over a long period before we see the gutters filled up with flood water and I mean, it took a much longer time. Now, what happens is that even after a very short drizzle, I mean, it doesn't have to even rain that long. 15 minutes rain, and the gutters, the drains are already filled up. And I'm like, what's happening here? And if it continues like this, the rate at which we see the floodwater fill up our gutters and all of that, the rate at which is happening, you can clearly tell that if some checks are not put in place in the next month or two, or probably be a completely different situation where the streets and everything would also be filled. And your guess is as good as mine when you have to drive on a street that's filled with floodwater. So my point is that I agree with you when you say we need some sort of a re-engineering of our major highways, our drains. I mean, we need a better approach, multi-stakeholder approach, where we really look at probably redesign really. And for me, I think government would have to lead in that particular effort. And of course, an admonishment to us, citizens, residents. I mean, sometimes some of our actions is what leads to this. So
we don't dispose of refuse haphazardly.
And you see someone building on the waterway when
just to block the
clearly
water.
It's been stated that this is a no-go area in terms of building. So we need to do better, but ultimately government will need to take responsibility in making sure that we find a lasting solution to our flooding problems.
And when it comes to people helping to do these things, you must help to ensure that, well, the situation is resolved. But the Ghana Meteorological Agency has stated that this is just the beginning. We've got into the peak of the rainy season, and we should expect more rain. So I think that we should all be, careful of what we do in terms of where we will be during this particular period. Moving away from this story, and the minority in Parliament, they have criticized President Akufo-Addo on his comment on the rankings or the remarks on rating agencies. Let's bring you that insight.
The minority in Parliament has chastised President Akufo-Addo over his comments against downgrades of the country by international rating agencies. Addressing the media, the deputy ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, Isaac Adongo, said such ratings are part of the accepted global financial systems which have been beneficial to the president in recent past. City News' Ni Aikwenokain reports.
Speaking at the 30th anniversary celebrations of the Afri-Exim Bank in Accra, President Akufo-Addo said the downgrades of the country by international rating agencies has contributed to the current economic challenges. But addressing the media on Wednesday, the minority in Parliament took a swipe at President Akufo-Addo over such a comment.
They should tell that man that rating is not a diplomatic maneuver. He should stop going around his peers and telling them stories. The rating agencies and the capital market predate his whole life. And it is part of the global financial system that has come to be accepted. You have been a beneficiary of it. You remember in 2019, I was on Metro taking on one of the rating agencies for doing a paid job. They never challenged me. You know why? When we are going to the capital market, we actually pay rating agency as our consultants to do rating for the release for that particular issuance. And Ken and Akufo-Addo, you were paying these people that you are now claiming are terrible monies to tell a story about your economy. But they have their standard rating activity, which is not paid job. That is where you see the two sides of the snake. So, Akufo-Addo, you are the worst president ever. Rating agency didn't ask you to come and dig the most expensive dam here. Nobody told you that. The rating agency didn't ask you to be doing Prima 7, then you come and take a flight, take a private jet and be roaming around when you can't even feed your students. Did the rating agencies tell him that? So the rating agencies have come to stay. His colleagues are laughing at him.
The group also jabbed the Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, over comments that he is feared as the potential flag bearer of the new patriotic party by the NDC.
If Bawumia is the best, they are using to break the 8. The man, when he said he won't even break the 8, he broke our lives. And he is now coming to break the 8. We will tell him the last time he mentioned the 8, what happened to us. There are a lot I can say about what Bawumia represents, but I know he will talk again. So we can't say everything here. But it is left to the MPP. If they decide that, yes, he is the best to face us, we are ready. You saw when we selected our flag bearer. He's been warming up and lifting every day. Waiting for them. If they mistakenly bring a Koshoko, that's death. Do you get it? So they can go and bring Bawumia. If they bring Bawumia, he himself will do the campaign for us because he has his audios. You know, he spoke too much. So we'll play it back. We will respond to him for every unguided and lying statements he would make. If MPP decide to choose him as flag bearer, that's their problem. But he must be factual. He must not take the people of Ghana for granted. And now for Ken Oforiatta, he should know that now Adongo is in this chair. Any update will respond. If after destroying our lives and embarrassing us, he doesn't feel shy to still talk, we'll meet him squarely.
The former Minister of Power, Dr. Kwabena Donko, also addressed the media on Wednesday and urged the government to prioritize the exportation of its excess capacity of power.
What we need to do is to aggressively market. Instead of complaining about excess capacity, if it existed, we are unable to meet the demand of Burkina. There is Mali beyond Burkina, and there's already interconnection. So there is the need for a policy drive. Remember, right from 2012, the intention was to make Ghana a major exporter of power. We have exported power since the late 1960s, 1970s to Togo and Benin. But we want to go beyond that. We want to be a major power exporter. We sit right in the middle of the sub-region.
So Isaac Adongo says that President Akufo-Addo is being dishonest with his comment. Well, he's saying that you see the dishonesty when the rating agencies were rating us high, and we're going to the capital market and showing them the rating of Ghana and collecting the $3 billion, were we in bed with them to deceive the investors? what have the rating agencies said that is not true? I think that is his opinion, though. But he is also saying that, well, what President Akufo-Addo is saying isn't right, and that
Philip,
what the rating agencies are doing, they are doing the right job.
Philip, that was a no-hold-barred interview with presser by Isaac Adongo. I mean, he will always give it a headline. Interesting things he was saying there. I mean, but going back to the president's comment on the rating agency, I also the view. I mean, and if you go on social media, some other people have also shared similar opinion in the sense that it was quite unfortunate, considering the fact that these are the very same rating agencies we've relied on for how long. And Mr. Isaac Adongo makes that point, and he says that, see, these rating agencies predated the president's tenure in government. And I struggle to understand for what reason would they be disingenuous in their work to target a particular government, right? So you can understand why the president will also make that comment, because it was quite incessant, right? One rating agency downgrade after the other, no breaks from Fitch to S&P, Moody's. Like, it came quite regular, and I mean, if you're in government, it could be very discomforting. So I understand why the president will make that comment. Only that, I mean, if you go through these rating agencies and the rigorous nature with which they go about their work, and the standards and how it is internationally acclaimed, I, as a person, don't see any reason why their work will be targeted or will be seen to paint a particular government black. I think they are quite straightforward, and a lot of the work they did were either confirmed in one way by the IMF or by the World Bank, right? And I've always maintained that instead of probably going after these rating agencies, maybe what we could have done is to take a look at our economy again and see how we can address the structural problems of our economy. Because we've been saying that, see, as a country, we are too import reliant, right? And even today on the City Breakfast Show, Bernard and the team had to discuss the fact that the AGI letter saying that, see, lowering taxes on sanitary parts was going to be at the detriment of local manufacturers. And these are the hard conversations we need to be taken. And I would have expected the president to reignite this conversation again, get on board stakeholders. Let's see how we can discuss issues that affect our economy in a non-partisan way, in an attempt to address the structural problems that have always been there about our economy. So I don't really disagree with the criticisms of the rating agencies. I believe that it's about time we take hold of our economy and address the structural problems.
President Akufo-Addo says that the rating agencies is having, or the downgrade is having a toll on the economy of countries such as Ghana, but the minority in parliament disagrees. Away from that story, Anglo Gold Ashanti, they have responded to the criticisms and assets commitment to the Obuasi development following what the youth there have been raising. But let's bring you that insight.
The management of Anglo Gold Ashanti is mounting a strong defense against accusations by some indigents of Obuasi that the company is not doing enough in developing the mining town. And while some residents tell City News drastic measures need to be put in place to address the unemployment and underdevelopment in the area, Anglo Gold says it has come up with interventions to tackle the challenges confronting the people. There's more in the following report by City News' Bureau Chief for the Middle Belt, Edward Opomafo.
Mining activities have been taking place in Obuasi for several decades, but some residents here feel that it has not reflected in terms of the level of development in this area. They have thus been raising a number of concerns in recent years. Some have been embarking on demonstrations, calling on authorities to ensure that they develop this area. Some also feel that the mining company over here, Anglo Gold Ashanti Obuasi Mine, is not doing enough to spearhead development in this area. But we have come to the community to find out from some of the residents on the major concerns with respect to the level of development and what they expect from various stakeholders.
I think the youth in Obuasi needs education. They think because they have the Galamsey here, they don't take formal education serious. I'm a teacher, and the youth here don't take schooling serious. And afterwards, they think they can just depend on the Galamsey, which is not also all the thing they can do. So I suggest the youth need education. It's not everybody that can engage in galamsey. Those who can engage in formal education should take it serious, so that those who also engage in galamsey should also be allowed. I think they should be allowed.
They should be allowed to engage in galamsey. Yes, how?
There should be some form of control in the galamsey that they will be allowed to do.
No, galamsey is basically illegal.
All right. For all I know, I think there are times they are allowed to do some form of small-scale mining. So I think that is what I wanted to say. They should be allowed to do the small-scale mining, and then they should be controlled, because there are a lot of water bodies around which assets now is spoiled due to the galamsey activity. So the galamsey should be stopped, but they should be allowed to do the small-scale mining, and it should be controlled as well. Actually, I have been to about 3 mining cities, and I think per the income gotten from such cities, I think they are underdeveloped. So Obuasi needs to be developed much, most especially when it comes to town roads. Yes, at least a city which produces a lot of good for the country, at least they should enjoy tiled city roads, inner roads. It's just recently that they did the main Obuasi Kumasi road. Had not been that, at least Obuasi would have suffered from a lot of bad roads.
The management of Anglo Gold Ashanti.
In terms of contributions, between 2019, when we started the redevelopment project, and last year, we have paid about over 973,000 US dollars into the community trust fund. And these are exclusively for community investment that the trust fund drives. And then our own community investment, which in this case will be considered as the 10-year SCDP or the social management plan, which we have completed. We have committed, or we have spent in excess of 4.
So the management of Anglo Gold Ashanti, they are saying that they are doing everything possible to develop the Obuasi township. But I think due to this comes on the back of the story that broke some time ago, I think in the month of May, that is last month, where about 300 illegal miners were said to have been trapped in one of the shafts belonging to Anglo Gold Obuasi mines. And when the Minister, Lands and Natural Resources Minister, when the Samuel Abdullahi Jinapo went there, one of the things he stated was the unemployment rate there shouldn't push these individuals to do that. But also the youth there are saying that if you are on our land, certainly you should be developing the area every now and then. But that is what the youth say. They are not saying. But the management of Anglo Gold Ashanti are also saying that, well, we are doing what we can to develop the area.
I mean, the community and cooperation, mining cooperation disagreements and fights have been quite an age-old situation in the country, and is not a case that is only peculiar to Anglo Gold. Many other mining companies in the country face similar problems in their respective communities where they mine. And I mean, you can understand the frustrations of the residents there, because I mean, if you look at some of the profits these companies make as compared to the level of development in the area, I mean, they merely see it as a token or tokenism, really, where they'll probably put up some school somewhere, put up a community park somewhere, and that is it. You see less and less of human development. For which reason, we saw the local content law apply, where, I mean, some companies are obliged to even have some percentage of their employees from residents in the area. All of this have helped. I mean, but I think the Anglo Gold case specific, if you listen to the report, you understand that some $937,000 has been invested in the community between a period of 2019 to 2021 as a result of their, they call it the SMP, as I read it here, so they call it the social management plan, which was rolled out in 2019 as part of the redevelopment of the area. So it's an issue that is not going to die anytime soon, right? And all we can say is that we plead with these firms to, I mean, still continue with the the investment really, not only in infrastructure, but also in the lives of the people, human capacity, human building, and I'm sure it would go a long way to help overall in the community.
Rightly so. So there should be some development in the area as the youth are demanding for. Away from this story, and Ghana's economy has shown robust growth of 4.2% in the first quarter of 2023.
Government has recorded major decreases in the expenditure line items for the first quarter of 2023. Out of the 6 expenditure line items, only the compensation of employees increased. The Bank of Ghana, in its May 2023 monetary policy report, indicated that expenditure performance was partly attributed to a reduced debt service due to the debt restructuring program. The following report has more.
Providing insights into the key factors driving the economy's growth, government statistician Professor Kobnenim emphasized that the growth was primarily propelled by the services and agricultural sectors.
The growth rate that we are seeing for the first quarter of 2023 is largely driven by the services sector, which grew by 10.1%, which was driven by public administration, and what we are seeing from the agricultural sector, which grew by 4.8%. So from that broad perspective, that is the 3-sector perspective, the 2 sectors that have contributed to the 4.2% growth rate is largely as a result of services 10.1% and agriculture 4.8%. What is important for us is not these 3 broad classifications, but the subsectors that we have.
So the services and agricultural sector is doing good for this country.
I mean, good news, right? Yeah. After what has been a very difficult 2020 when fuel prices were all over the roof, everything was just going haywire in the country. We are beginning to see some growth. Yeah. Some will attribute it to the IMF, others will attribute it to prudent government management, fiscal policy management. Whatever the case is, the ultimate is that some relief is brought to Ghanaians, right? So we want to fill it in our pockets, not just see the numbers.
That's
fill it in our pockets as well.
Let's fill it in our pockets. We know that the economy is doing well, but let's fill it in our pockets. This is how we end today's edition of CNR Extra here on City TV. My name is Philip Nihlachi. I think that's what Jude Mensa Duncan. Many thanks for your time and keep watching City TV.